Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling the pressure from just everything, but
Yeah, I feel it too. And so I always make space to accept what I feel
exactly.
and to set the intention to stay grounded and clear and to also maintain boundaries. And so, hello, everyone. Here is the link to the 10/7/22 agenda. So I'm going to frame the discussion
Mhm.
around the class schedule, and I'll let you actually go through that since after I set it up. And I saw, thank you for front loading that on the agenda. And what I want to do before we actually get into the discussion is just to really make it about best practices and how we have really have since I joined the ES department in 2018. We consistently have practiced transparency and equity and providing some degree of faculty input with scheduling,
Yeah,
with creating the class schedule every semester. And we work with faculty, we're as flexible as we can be.
correct.
And so
And
what
I was gonna do that too. So instead of like, showing them the Excel sheet, 'cause I think that would have been overwhelming them.
overwhelming,
I'm just gonna show them the Word document that I created for you, where each person's name and like the course.
exactly.
Yeah, and then I think I'm just gonna ask because I know I have to ask a few questions to Equipunka if she wants to teach that class on Wednesday or does she want to do it
Right,
online? Because I know that
exactly.
everyone gets to at least teach one class online, fully online. So I want to make it like equitable.
I'm not teaching either one of my classes fully online, and it could be, and I'm only teaching two classes. And so that makes
So you're
sense.
only teaching one.
Well, in the spring, yeah. So that's why.
Yeah.
So, um, hello,
Hi, Katie.
hello.
Hello.
I like your background.
Sorry.
So I like your background. It's
Oh,
very symmetrical.
thank you. Okay.
So,
Hello.
hello, Viv. I'm sending you also an email that breaks everything down as well. So I just sent that to you. So hello, everyone. It is 3:30, so we are going to go ahead and get started. It's October 7th. I can't believe it's just been a little bit. What are Gosha, you've been keeping really good track. Are we ending week 6 or week 7?
Week 7.
Week 7,
Next week, in week 8.
week 8. So it is that time. I want to apologize to Chia because I interrupted her class. I had left a couple of my charger in my reading glasses, and so I was excited to see that the students were doing the mid semester social, I'm assuming social justice activist presentations. I'm gearing up for that and making sure that they're very clear, and have to even allocate time. And for the first time, face to face, I allocate time for them in class to be able to uh, either choose randomly with the social justice activist presentations or figure out their topics and decide if they want to collaborate or not. And because I know that I think most, if not all of us, have to submit 5 artifacts from designated general education courses by the end of the fall semester. So it is specific to this semester because I did reach out to Shriyam, who is coordinating the collection of these artifacts. So we're in the thick of it. It is the midterm. So I'd love to do a quick check-in before we get started on the core topics, and I'll explain what that's the priorities, right? We have a very, very time-sensitive deadline. So the priority for today's meeting is making sure that Juvenal gets to share out about the upcoming Dia de los Muertos. In the last meeting, Coponca got to share out in detail about the Indigenous Peoples Day that's upcoming on October 13th, and also emailed the flyer. So that flyer is available if you all would like to share it with your students and anywhere else. And so in the interest of time, we weren't able to get to Juvenal to you in the last meeting. So in terms of events, you're going to have an opportunity to share out and invite input in a minute. So how are you all doing with preparing and or actually being in the thick of conducting those midterm assignments and or exams or papers?
I finished grading last night, but again, it took a month trying to copy. Yeah, so I'm good. I finally got some grounding, but now I got to do some yard work. So that just to put you, yeah, to share kind of what I'm going through, and cleaning. Other than that, I'm good. You know, it's been tough, but I'm good other than that. So that's about it.
Good. Thank you for sharing. I'm super impressive and all. Like, grading, what's that? I really stayed on top of it my first year, but once that second year started, and even now I don't know, it's the thing about Zoom that you all have all started right in the midst of COVID. And it was actually logistically more difficult to schedule so many meetings and so many workshops. And so it's kind of like we aren't physically having to attend meetings and workshops, and yet that transitional time meant that we didn't have to attend as many before COVID. So I feel for you all in that regard. Anyone else? How are you doing with just, how do you feel? We're like Goshu said, we're wrapping up with the 7th week and we're going into the 8th week.
Yeah, I can go. I mean, yeah, it's just time is racing, and I've also done this essay grading. It's just that we're in the middle of it, and I think I thought it would be a lot more difficult, but I think I'm kind of sinking into the rhythm of it now. So I'm happy that I'm in that stage, but still the next couple of weeks are also going to be instrumental. We are going to start presentation in week 9. So after 2 weeks, basically, yeah, it's exciting. And at the same time, sometimes overwhelming, but exciting as well.
Yes, thank you for sharing. We definitely get into a rhythm and get into a pacing. And the great thing is, this is your, well, for, even, I mean, for Goshu, it's your first time laying it down the foundation, you know, for all with the preps. And Katie, I don't know if it's your first time since you were teaching some of the same courses, if not all of the same courses last year, but once you lay that foundation down the first year, you can continue to build on it. And that's also a huge factor in how we schedule courses. We try to make sure that you don't, especially after your first year, that you are not having several new preps per year, and instead teaching the same classes and really fine-tuning and tweaking those. So I'm glad to hear that you're finding the groove. Oh, sorry. Anybody else?
I guess I can share. I'm doing good. The presentations are going well. So normally I just kind of schedule it whenever that it, you know, like it doesn't matter if we were online, but because we're in person, I try to schedule all of the presentations in person. And then I actually take the day that we're offline to lecture, just to be fair. So some folks are not feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm presenting on Zoom versus I'm presenting online. So that's what I've been doing for our intro to ethnic studies. So that's been going well. We had our first presentation. That was the one that you walked in. Yeah, so we have our next set this upcoming Tuesday. So I'm excited. And I'm also giving them an opportunity to work on the projects too. So in class, so in case there are questions, that's been going well. Grading's been going well. I finished grading and then another set just came in too. So more grading. But other than that, and I'm still moving. So Katie, I'm glad you're done with that, but I'm still in the midst of all of that too. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Well, yes, you please don't hesitate to email me and if you need some flexibility, you know what I mean, around the moving. And I'm really curious as to, because obviously last year students were doing presentations online. I think this time, wow, in the fall of 2021, I think we were still online. So do you find that it's a more impactful experience to have them doing the presentations face to face?
It's just been the first set, so but I do feel that it's more engaging. Like the other students are also paying more attention, or at least I can pick up on that. Versus online, I'm guessing that they're paying attention. But in person, I know they can pick up on it. They're more engaged. They're listening, and then the students who are presenting, I think it really gives them an opportunity to be up there, which I feel like we haven't done that in such a long time. So that was really refreshing.
These are really great points. Okay, so you've inspired me. I'm actually going to, it gets tricky because for some of the students, it's very date kind of specific. And I'm gonna do a poll to see if what the majority of them select, even though that's kind of a tricky way, but it's kind of like, dag, I've not factored that in. And so yeah, but thanks for sharing that. I will definitely do that in the spring. And who would like to go next? I'm going to stop share. I think everyone knows the question.
I'm doing well. I'll be grading all weekend. And I'm only, I think, one class meeting behind where I intended to be in any of my classes. So for me, that's spot on. I'm doing great. As far as my move, I moved, but everything is, a lot of things are still in boxes. So it's kind of difficult right now.
Congratulations that you actually are in the new place. And I will tell you that I moved a year ago on Halloween. So Halloween is my anniversary. It'll be my anniversary. And I have a lot of children and families in my neighborhood. So I will tell you that it took me until I barely was able to do anything in the fall. But she and Katie and Goshu in terms of really getting everything situated. And then I did a little bit over the winter break and then a little bit over spring. And then the summer, this past summer is when I really did a lot in terms of I look for secondhand everything mainly on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, and it worked out really, really well. And there are a lot of secondhand, even furniture stores, like in Modesto has a lot of thrift stores with some great finds. And so it's really great that you're in there. Congratulations. And what I'm saying is take your time, because it's really challenging to move during the semester and then to get everything unpacked and organized. It does take some time. So, and kudos to you all on the pacing. My pacing is good, but the grading, what about you, Viv? How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm in the midst of a bunch of paperworks. I'm excited for our events coming up, and we just pretty much confirmed Juvenal's event on 25 Live, so it's official. So I can't wait to hear more about it with Juvenal. But for moving wise, what's it called? I moved here 2 years ago, and I bought all my stuff through an auction website called BidRL. They're from Turlock, Modesto, Merced, all through the Central Valley. It's pretty much overstock items from Target, Costco. So just they're brand new majority of the time. So if you guys want to check them out, they auction every day, and that's how I got my furnitures and my chairs. I got my couch for I think only $25, and it's originally $300.
Could you share the link to that?
Yeah.
Or yes,
I would check out Modesto more, because they're a bigger warehouse and they get more shipment. And all you gotta do is just pretty much create an account and you put your credit card and you just bid on it. And
I'm
that's my side, that's my hobby too. I just check that website whenever I'm bored.
Wow, I am so I'm okay. So all y'all jump on it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm jealous because I didn't know about this. So I'm gonna
they
just
sell washing machines and like refrigerators and stuff like that. So check it out whenever you guys can.
okay. I'm just saving this. I'm just gonna put this in my URL. And so actually, before we get into the announcements, unfortunately, it's really important to notify everyone of what's happening. There we go. There's the site. Juvenal, I'm gonna jump down to Dia de los Muertos. Of course, we have all of the details for Indigenous Peoples Day, the time, location. Viv and I will be attending Indigenous Peoples Day. It's already, I can't believe it's already coming up in less than 6 days. So yes, Juvenal, love and also Juvenal, once you finalize the flyer, please feel free to email that to us. And if you don't have everyone's email address, you can send it to Viv and they can send it out to everyone. And
I'm still getting organized. So yes, I'm excited. I already got 4 speakers confirmed. I'm working on a 5th one because they wanted to include another LGBTQI plus voice, and so I'm excited. This good, it should be good. So I'm not worried about that aspect. What's worrying me now is the altars, because I did ask my students to create one, and I didn't want to like make any like create some that are like tangible. So I asked them to go digital. So I wanted to just pick your brains, because at this point, like I am not sure what the themes, and I threw the idea and they were kind of like, we're not sure, right? But given that I am teaching the social justice and education for social justice course, and we are already talking about racism and white privilege, for example, right? Classism, sexism, heterosexism, trans oppression, religious oppression, and ableism and age oppression. Given that we're already touching on those topics, I just wanted to kind of pick your brains on if those are good to make altars, or if you could maybe perhaps suggest any more themes, because I'm kind of like stuck, to be honest with y'all. Other than that, everything's so far so good. They're excited, and so again, it should be a good event. And I was kind of expecting more of a pushback, because I totally forgot to incorporate my students. But once I discussed the event and I shared with them what it is we're gonna do, and I showed them Samuel's video from the previous year, they got super excited. So that was pretty much it.
that's awesome. I wonder, I think what someone used to do is, and unfortunately, I don't have the instructions, but he used to give kind of like super broken down step-by-step instructions for how to do the altares.
Right.
And you may have already done that. And so I'm wondering, if maybe there's a disconnect because they're maybe not sure how to approach it online, doing it virtually.
And that was another factor that I told them, like, don't expect for it to be like someone's class, because they got to do it physically, right? And I was talking to Carolina earlier about it as well. And so she promised to send me some photos. She was gonna look for photos, but if any of you have any suggestions of the themes, so that I can provide more context, because some students even mentioned that they celebrate the religion, the holiday with their family, and that they wanted to like show their family altar. So I thought that was kind of cool as well. And that's kind of where I'm at with this whole event situation. But again, it should be good, because I got some good speakers, but that's where I'm at.
That is fantastic. And again, I'm just wondering how. I just entered a link to the photo of what I thought was a really beautiful altar. And someone also always alternated the altares based on the students doing those actually traditional altares to family members. And even if they wanted to do that, if they can even maybe speak to what were some possible challenges that their family members experienced as a result of marginalization stemming from Latinidad, I don't know, documentation status, not unable to access maybe the highest level of education and training, being mainly corralled into more low-paying jobs. So, and even with
Yeah,
that,
no, thank you, Mary, and I appreciate that, because again, like, what happened was, given that that Samuel used to do this event through a Latinx Chicanx course, right, which addresses some of these issues, given that this is an education for social justice course, this is where the spin is a little different. And so this is what I'm trying to like figure out, like, on the one hand, I ain't trying to put more work on my students, right? But given already that we're already going to do presentations on like racism and white privilege, classism, sexism. So I'm thinking we could do some alters around surrounding that. But any ideas, again, I would be happy to incorporate them, look into them. And these are, again, the topics that we're already kind of covering. But again, given that it's a different class doing the altares, right?
right. Well, I'm really excited. It's amazing that you have. Look, I've done an event with two. Now, one of the speakers was a national, was a queer Black YouTube content creator who has a national audience and even had some of his fans, right? So, but it's like, there was one panel where I just had two people, so, and a performer. So thank you for sharing that. And really, this is an image of one of the altares. Now, this was when we were still doing, before COVID. And again, it's like, because, and I know that last year, the last couple of years, Dia de los Muertos was online. And so what some of the students did was they created actual altares, and then they would have their video camera on so that they could show, right, the image of the actual altar versus. So this is breaking new ground, and that's always challenging. And unfortunately, you know, the themes are very, very relevant, not only with I don't know how many of you have heard about what's being framed as a serial killer, primarily in Stockton. I think that the first killing was in April of 2021. Then there's also been at least one killing in Oakland, and primarily targeting Latinx men. Now, I also heard a report that a Black woman was shot and survived, and she described the killer as wearing all Black and having like a mask that covered up 3/4 of their face. It was also Black and it was dark. And so the speculation on the part of law enforcement is that the killer may have mistaken her for a Latinx man. I mean, right, the anti-brownness, the anti-Blackness. And so I did attend the chair's meeting this afternoon, where the Dean of Students of Stockton gave a full report of where they are doing a lot in terms of law enforcement and kind of safety measures on the campus at Stockton, especially because some of our programs, like I didn't realize this about the counseling, a psychology program, but also an MSW program is based solely out of Stockton. And now that they're starting to go back face to face, it's not uncommon that they have 1 week, the classes once a week that meet at night. And like one of the faculty members or chairs was saying that, for example, they have classes that faculty teach, multiple classes a week that don't end until 10 p.m. And there was also the kidnapping and murder of was it Indian family in Merced? So there's a lot happening energetically, I mean, cosmically, whatever, however you kind of make sense of this really off the charts energy. And this has been a very intense retrograde that we just came out of it on the 5th, and there's just been all kinds of stuff.
Did you hear about Arizona, where this a previous student of a professor, shot and killed a professor there. So this is just, yeah. That was
where in
in
which
the University of Arizona, my alma
in
mater.
Tucson?
Yeah, in Tucson. A previous student went and shot a professor, and just that is, wow.
I mean, well, I will say that it's not happening. It's very, very intermittent, but I would say that I have definitely had instances of where I knew that a random white man was like casing my class. For example, when I first started teaching the ethnic studies and housing collaboration, the social justice living and learning community, I remember that very, very clearly in the fall of 2019. And then Viv and I have spotted some kind of suspicious, unfortunately, and it's not always white men, right? We know that these ideologies are not directly connected to pigmentation. It's about conditioning and mindset. And I believe it was a Latinx man who killed the family in Merced. Now, closer to home, there have been some attacks, some anti-LGBTQIA plus attacks, not only in Turlock itself, and I don't know, I'm not sure about the details on that, but also at Stan State, a faculty member was subjected to an anti-LGBTQIA plus attack, and I don't know about the severity. What's really disturbing is that I attended Senate, and the clerk of the Senate called out the entire faculty for no one saying anything about these these are hate crimes. And Turlock, it's like, unfortunately, it's not unusual. It's not super common. We go from targeting to anti-Black hate, anti-Latinx hate, to now anti-LGBTQIA plus attacks. And so President John was in attendance. And of course, I am very transparent and open. And in the chat said, I really thanked the clerk of the Senate and one of Dana Nakano, who is one of two of our statewide academic senators on the statewide Senate representing our campus, and where I thanked them. I said that I would share the information with students and faculty, and also sharing that President John is like a full investigation is going to be done, and also safety measures taken, because it's important that we know that we're aware that if we see something unusual or, so I just wanted to let you know that. And then I'll let Viv make a really exciting and much more positive announcement about our new ethnic studies student event coordinator assistant. I think.
Yeah, so we recently hired Cynthia as our new student assistant. You'll be seeing her in the office more often. Majority of her job position is to help us through our events, that pretty much getting any volunteers, helping us with our events online, as in like Zoom, looking at the chats. So we're not trying to bombard her with a lot of work. It's just she's a freshman, so she's still adjusting to it. But I know that she's excited to join the ethics studies program department. Really, Dr. Mary, do you have anything else to say?
I'm very excited. She was a student who was enrolled in my class and realized that she wanted to backtrack a little bit, and was the degree of thoughtfulness and mindfulness and intention behind, before she took an intro to ethnic studies, she's like, she actually wanted to hone in on Chicanx Latinx studies. And so she was very honest. She just, for someone so young especially, but just generally speaking, had such a high degree of integrity and values. And that's increasingly unusual in people from all backgrounds. And so and was really able to respond to the questions with a high degree of thought and of critical thinking. And so I'm really excited.
Yeah, she'll be starting next Monday.
Yay! So before we go into the finalizing, this is the big priority for today's meeting. And it's a very, very time sensitive deadline to get the spring schedule finalized. Now, I've provided, I again am learning as much as I can about different policies and how, and actually protocols that we've actually practiced ever since I joined the ethnic studies faculty in 2018. When it comes to class scheduling, I'm not shy about asking questions. I ask the questions in Senate. I ask the questions in chair meetings. I reach out to other faculty to learn, and other former chairs or current chairs to learn what the process is for departments. And I've included some information on what is turning out to be a really, really sticky and challenging issue, which is really come to the forefront ever since COVID, which is the policy on course modality, and specifically in reference to hybrid course modalities. And it's very convoluted, which I dislike. So I like to really cut to the chase and interpret all of the stuff. And it's like, there's a wide range of what fulfills a hybrid course right now. And there are other policies that override this, right? It's like, first of all, it's WASC accreditation, the body that accredits the entire CSU. I think it's a Western Association of Schools and Colleges accreditation. And then there's a further issue with it has a course or a program done like this batch. It's called batching all of the courses to apply to become classified as distance learning according to WASC. There's a higher threshold or percentage of classes that students can take online when it's a distance learning program or major, right, or focus, versus if it's not a distance learning, that is a regular kind of major that's not classified as distance learning. Then there are also requirements around general education courses, and at the 120 units that are required for graduation, there's a certain amount of those that have to be online, or I'm sorry, face-to-face. And so there's a lot of moving parts. You can actually read over this if you would like to. This is an evolving conversation. In a meeting that I attended yesterday, one of the faculty members, who's also the president of the CFA, said that the issue with the policy is there's no real enforcement, and we need to have, right, I mean, everything, right, needs to have enforcement. So I just want to frame the discussion, and I also received a detailed breakdown from the Dean Toidio, in terms of like looking at faculty workload, and then what are the specific courses. Like he actually went faculty member by faculty member by faculty member in terms of suggested changes, or to just keep it as is. And so I know for Chia and I, like in the email, it says there are no changes. And I think for Juvenal, but we'll get to that in a minute. So there are two primary ways that departments create the class schedule. And I mean, these have to be created 2 years in advance, but of course, before the class schedule was actually finalized prior to going live each semester, it has to be revisited because there are usually going to be some updates that need to be made. Now, the way that ethnic studies has always created the class schedule, at least since I came in 2018, was that we would discuss the in academic years given schedule for the fall and spring semester as a faculty at meetings. And part of it is, right, we're plugged in to specific courses because of our areas of expertise and specialization, but this has always been a discussion. For example, as a faculty member, I've always had the permission and the autonomy to say that I prefer a given time of day, or I prefer a given day or given days, especially if something is going on in my schedule that would conflict with teaching a class, during a particular day, a slot for that. So we've always been able to weigh in, and obviously prioritizing, balancing out individual faculty preferences with the overall needs of our students, and also with equitable capacity. And we've been doing this since 2018. I'll revisit the protocols to see if we have this here. And I also want you all to be thinking about, it's not going to be as relevant for this meeting, but moving forward with the creating the schedules moving forward, I want you to weigh in on what you would prefer. Now, other departments, and I will say that these tend to be very large departments that have, which we could ultimately end up becoming with AB 1460, that it's so challenging. There's so many details. There's so many moving parts to creating the schedule. And there's not, for example, we still don't have enough classroom space, even though our enrollment with incoming freshmen dropped this year. So other department chairs simply plan the schedule with no faculty input. They're like, we need you here. Boop, 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 boop. So, and this again tends to be very large departments with a lot of classes and a lot of sections of courses and a lot of majors and minors. So this doesn't apply to us at this point. It's now in terms of the reason from a macro, like stepping back from a kind of large organizational perspective, all of our lecturers primarily are the ones who teach fully online. And it has been this is why it is very difficult to find lecturers, let's say with a mass, like who are actually qualified to teach ethnic studies courses in the Central Valley. It's very challenging. We have to match lecturers. I mean, this is across the board writ large. We have to match lecturers to the classes that align with their education and their experience. So for example, because we do offer some education for social justice and inequities in education, we can actually hire someone who has an EDD or primarily a background in education, for example, but doesn't have a background in ethnic studies or in a specific emphasis. And so we literally cannot offer to have them teach any course, to just cover any course. That alignment has to be there. And it's very challenging. And so for some time now, the practice has been that we offer lecturers online classes almost exclusively. We had one lecturer who was able to teach in Stockton, and we had one lecturer who was teaching here at the Turlock campus until they relocated. And this is why for us as FTE faculty, we do kind of end up carrying more of the load when it comes to providing the face-to-face teaching. It's a capacity issue, and it's a skill, right, mismatch, because we're in the Central Valley. We were in LA or even, CSU East Bay, I think we would be able to find more lecturers to teach face-to-face. And so this is giving you a more context to why there's not as much built-in flexibility for us to teach super online. Now, depending on your course load, and Viv can get into this, each one of you hopefully has at least one fully online class, depending on your course load. Now, when we start getting course releases, like we start, teaching 2 courses or 1 course, it can be hybrid, but the option to have, like I'm teaching 2 courses, it's not an option for me to teach a class fully online because I'm only teaching 2 courses, and I need to make sure, right, that we define hybrid as 50% face-to-face, 50% online. And so both of my classes are hybrid. So does anyone have any questions before Viv, before I hand it over to you? Okay, Viv, I guess you can go up, and I will stop share so that you can share. And I also want to show that the dean is really helping out with this because I needed a lot of clarity. I needed a lot of clarity on the hybrid policy, on, right, people are getting sick. I had a lecturer email Viv and I, right, and like I was in a meeting earlier in the semester where a faculty member was sick with COVID. And so being very mindful, and then there are people who are like very immunocompromised, so they really can't teach on campus. And so like, once we as faculty agree to a particular modality and schedule, and that has been published in the class schedule, and our students are enrolling for our courses based on that, it's really important, if at all possible, to uphold that and fulfill that. And that if something happens, thank you for emailing it, just keeping that communication open. I totally understand. I have students who come down with COVID every come down with COVID every semester since we started teaching back face to face. And so, right, that's also that communication. I've dealt with it. I'm dealing with it. So I will definitely support you in, figuring out some options around that. Now, this is what the dean sent, and he was connecting it to workloads. And so basically, and it's showing, right, that breakdown of FTE faculty, ethnic studies faculty, and then the lecturers. And this is how it's already set up. And again, as you can see, everything is pretty much synchronous. It's probably a delivery. I'll get that in a minute. And with the lecturer. So even though they're teaching online, like it's fully synchronous. So, but the reason why there's such a heavy concentration with online teaching with the lecturers, that's the only way that we can really recruit and retain lecturers. So this is an issue that is, I think, somewhat, if not primarily distinct to ethnic studies. So I'll stop sharing, Viv, and I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah. Can you give me access to share?
Oh gosh, yes. Let me do that.
So
Yeah.
pretty much, go ahead, Koshu.
Just in the meantime, I wanted to know how you guys do it in terms of, for example, today I had some cough, like I'm free from COVID, but every time when we do this screening, it asks us question, and unless we say no, we can't even go to the next stage, right? So I have to say, although I have a cold, I'm coughing, and I have to say, no, I don't have any of these symptoms listed above, because I want to come here because I have classes. How do you manage these kind of things?
What I do, honestly, is because now I will say this, I very, very, very rarely get sick. And I really encourage you. I have gotten sick, right? And I will send out an email, and I try to do it. It's really challenging because I want to send it out at least because I want to see, and in the past I'm like, oh, am I gonna feel better? But like, if I know, I'm like, I'm sick, I'm not gonna go teach face to face. Where this happened before COVID, and so I would send out by the early morning of the day of the classes, I would send out an announcement, and I would say, I'm sick. We won't be holding class today. Sometimes I would have enough, if I felt well enough, I would come up with like I already know I want to show as a backup. I love to integrate capoeira into my classes, the whole history and political and all of that. And so that's kind of like on standby. It's like, here is the link to a video and questions that you're going to answer and turn in, blah, 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 blah. And what I make sure is I make sure that the video or the assignment in totality does not exceed the actual amount of time of the classes schedule. So like I teach 2 classes twice a week, an hour and 15 minutes each. So what I would do is I would like find a 30-minute, or maybe have them watch 30 minutes or 40 minutes of a video. And I would have them like answer, let's say 8 to 10 questions, that anticipating that answering those questions would fill up 30 to 35 minutes. I really encourage you, if you're not feeling well, to take care of yourself.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful.
Yeah, and that's and it's I appreciate the communication. You actually don't need to you don't need to send me an email and write about that to notify me. Even the lecturers don't. That is called what's considered minor adjustments, right? That's like if and so the only time when it's necessary to communicate is when something happens and you need to shift the modality for like the rest of the semester. You see, or you need to shift the modality for like a quarter of the semester. And then we can work through that together. But like when you get sick and you don't, it's not like K through 12, you don't have to send me an email. You don't have to send Dib an email. You just, and what I would do is kind of have backup. I've learned how to have backup assignments that they can do that enriches and deepens their learning so that it's more so going to an asynchronous model versus totally canceling the class. But thank you for, I was like, oh, please don't. If you still have that, yeah, I don't know if you don't want to be at home because you don't want to get your family sick. I don't. So it's and it's a call. It's a judgment call on our part.
I think it's with the dust. So the dust is coming now.
Allergy season.
No. Go shoot. I talked to a faculty member with he's a wonderful colleague, and he recently moved from Turlock, where he had been for years, to Sacramento. And what he said is his allergies cleared up immediately.
Wow.
And I said, I'm like, do they use a lot of pesticides? And it's like, I mean, I come from a very agricultural place in Arkansas. And when I was growing up, they used to have what we call those little airplanes that fly real low over. We call them crop dusters. And they would just shh. Now, this was back in like the 40s and 50s when my dad was sharecropping, my grandparents were and their family. And my mom used to say they would just spray real low all of those chemicals over people, like as they were working in mainly cotton fields where I was. And we had an inordinately high amount of, for example, like prostate cancer in men. Right. And it's like, so as soon as I heard that, I'm like, what's going on? What are they? So that unfortunately could be contributing to. I live in Modesto, so but I lived in Turlock for a year and maybe about a year. And because I'm acclimated, I grew up in that. So it didn't affect me. But it was also COVID. I mean, I was inside 80% of the time. So.
Y'all ready for the schedule?
Woo! The fun part, but
Let me share my screen. All right. Can you see my screen?
yes.
Okay. So for spring 2023, all students currently have holds. Right now, I'm reaching out to enrollment service to see if our department is doing any holds. If they are, then faculties are please be ready to do any advising, but I'm pretty sure we don't have it this semester. But if they do, then they might reach out to you for any advice. I'm gonna send out an email to students to see if they need advising. The first pass is on November 7th, second pass is November 14th, and open registration is November 18th. So after the 18th, anyone can pretty much enroll into courses. The census date is February 22nd, and the last day of instruction will be May 16th for spring of 2023. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, now we're gonna hop to schedules. So since Quipunk is not here, I'll email her about her Wednesday, Monday class, but we can skip hers for now. Juvenal, right now on the schedule that's live, it says that you're teaching Intro to Chicana X, but you're not doing that. You're actually doing Ethics Studies 2050, Section 1, Section 2, and Community Organizing. You will be on campus on Monday in EO 23, which is the near, I forgot what to call, It's near the child development area. So it's one of those classrooms, and then you have B113, and then on Thursday you'll be online from 4:30 to 7:10. Do I have your approval on this? Okay, sounds good. Chia, your class is going to be Ethics Studies 2050 Section 8, Intro to the Asian American, and then Asian American Experience. You'll be on campus on Tuesday. So I saw that your Asian American class is going to be on Wednesday. So I was thinking if I can switch your first and top, and then these two to be on person on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday it will be fully online. Sounds good. Yes, I'll just make sure that everyone's on campus only for one day. And then KD, you're doing Ethics Studies Research Method on Monday. It'll be fully online. Intro to Ethics Studies Section 3 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's kind of the same schedule right now, 11 to 11:50. You'll be on campus Monday, Wednesday, and then Friday is going to be hybrid. You'll be teaching Ethics Studies 2300 Native American Indigenous, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12 p.m. to 12:50. Same classroom, B122 hybrid. I know that the dean wants to, you'll be assigned to 4340. They want to assign you to Racial and Ethics Experience. Dr. Mary, do you want to include that, or I don't know how you want to have that?
Oh, but do we not have any lecturers or anyone teaching any sections of racial? I mean, that's
Well,
racial.
we do have, that's where Ricky and I think Frankie's going to come in.
Okay, so, and I did, so with Frankie, let's go back up. I mean, here's the issue.
So yes, we have Carlos teaching it and Ricky.
So I'm not sure. Maybe the dean doesn't know about this updating. I think
Yeah.
if we have at least 2 sections of it being taught, I don't think we need a 3rd section.
Okay. But KD, are you okay with being on campus Monday and Wednesday? Sounds good. And then Goshu, you will be on campus on Monday, Wednesday again. You'll be teaching Intro to Black Studies from 1 p.m. to 1:50 in B103. Intro to Ethics Studies from 2 to 2:50 in B115. And your Black American films will be online from 4:30 to 7:10 p.m. But the dean wants to assign him to 4200, which is the Racial and Ethics Experience.
Wow, there's a I will say that this is a really high demand class because it fulfills 2 requirements and it's upper division, and it's one of our few kind of upper division classes, I think, that does that. And so it's always full. I don't get it. I don't understand why
I don't think he knows that Ricky and Carlos will be teaching those 2 courses. So that's why he has KD and Goshu teach it.
let's keep this as is.
Okay.
I have a question. Is it because these are offered like online versus the other ones are hybrid? And like you mentioned, Mary, like the adjuncts, just teaching solely online, does that have anything to do with it?
I don't think so, because he's not, especially because Goshu is teaching twice a week face-to-face in 2. Do you see what I'm saying with the breakdown? But I'm not sure. And I have a meeting with the dean and the provost, but yeah, I don't think he knows about the lecturers who are covering 4200 because it like, and to put Goshu in racial, I don't think, like, I've taught that class fully online once a week. It literally could go in that Wednesday slot and be fully online. So it's not so much about the modality as it is about, because this class is
Yeah, regardless, like if KD and Goshu teaches, it will have to be online because there's no space.
That's the other challenge, just like not being able to find physical classrooms.
And they're on
anywhere
a
on
3-3
campus.
load. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
does that mean if let's say if I am going to teach the ETHS for 200, would that mean one of these courses would be
Replace.
replaced?
And it'll be most likely the Black African film one. But you'll probably still have the same time slot. It'll just be a different course.
And what I will tell you, and I know that someone has did revamp the racial and ethnic experiences. It is a beast of a course to teach because it's the breadth and its depth.
Right.
And for that to be a third prep and a new prep, I will tell you right now, I would much rather, if I were in your position, especially for my second semester, I would much rather have the Black African film course as the new prep, right? And then to have that racial and ethnic experiences, especially because I love that course and I've taught it. This is the first time that, I think that I haven't taught it for a solid year, but everything I have is nothing is up to date anymore. So I have to basically get the new syllabus too, when I teach it again.
Yep. And then the rest are just part-times that you and I will go over. I think we already went through this, but we just pretty need confirmation with David, Dr. Mary.
With David, I need to email Stephanie Beaver. So could you go back up, Viv, and it's Education for Social Justice Tuesday 7 to remind her. I requested the references for Frankie, so I'll be able to verify her pretty soon. And then David, I need to go back and find that email.
Okay.
To reach out to him. And okay, I got it.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the schedule. Does anyone want me to go back to their screen or have any questions? Nope. All right, so these will be live on Tuesday, latest Wednesday. So you can tell your students to look at the schedule, probably Wednesday latest. Anytime we do schedule change, Tuesday is for the College of Arts. So that's when they pretty much revamp it. They don't do it every day. It's our person Noah, he's a scheduler, so he does it once a week because there's so many. So I'll make sure I have these in and it'll be live by Tuesday, Wednesday. All right, does anyone else have any questions? Dr. Mary?
Thank you. Could I go back to sharing screen? I'm out of curiosity. I mean, this is the way that we've always done the schedule since I came in 2018. Always in meetings, always brainstorming and figuring out what works the best for everyone, as well as the classes that the lecturers are assigned to. And then that communication that needs to happen with the dean, because I'm not sure. What I would really like to know is how many, especially in relation to AB 1460 and not having many upper division ethnic studies courses, much less ones that fit into area F. So we're in the process of trying to change that. Hopefully it'll get approved. But what I'm going to do now is go to, and I want you all to think of, first of all, I want to verify, I need to see if we do have protocols for how to create class schedules. Because it's like, I think that it was kind of maybe overlooked because it's just taken for granted that we do it this way. I mean, Viv, for me, I don't remember covering that, but maybe if I can find it. Student advising. Agenda. I've got the protocols somewhere. I just want to see very quickly, because what I want to offer to you all is to mull it over. What do you think? So no longer bi-monthly meetings. This should be, so I'll update this. it's really bi-weekly because bi-weekly is every other week. So
It's on page 6.
thank you, Viv. So let's go just make sure that we revisit this and make sure that this makes sense. Why am I not seeing the pages? Oh, 4 of 7. So 6. So, okay, here we go. Here we go. I just like, I take this process so much for granted that I wasn't sure. So yeah, I would really encourage you all to, and maybe, let me go back up here to see if this specifically is, the chair will consider the following criteria. Ultimately, I do make the final decision, but then obviously in conversation with the dean, I will say that we are in the process of compiling documents. Viv is in the process of compiling documents on the total number of course releases that faculty have received overall for a given semester or a year. The availability of part-time lecturer replacements for faculty when we do get course releases is always a really, really critical. And I do want to say that the assigned release time, such as there's different ways to do it. You can get course releases for service, such as certain participation on certain committees will automatically give faculty members a course release. It's very important before you think about applying for something like that or a fellowship. Like I applied for the Community Equity Research Center of the Central Valley, and one semester I got financial compensation, and then the next semester I got the assigned time. I discussed that with Samuel as the previous director and chair over the summer to make sure that that was going to work with the schedule. So this is where the open lines of communication are really, really important. And I didn't realize this, I mean, it was like, I had to be told this because I'm seeing all of these opportunities and I'm like, I want to apply for that. Oh, I'm doing this and it's like, oh, because I have the bird's eye view of a new faculty member, I had no idea how the schedules are created. And so I've learned over time that it was very important, especially it's kind of easier if you have the option of getting financial compensation. So the course release of decreasing the number of units of faculty, a tenure track faculty teaches by 3 or 1 class is equivalent to about approximately $6,000. And so with a lot of fellowships and other kind of committee service opportunities, you will sometimes have the option of choosing either the course release or the financial compensation. But then it means it's like you'll be teaching a full load and then doing another project. And so that's up to the discretion of the faculty. It's also really, really important to run that by me and Viv and I, so that we can figure out how all of that works out with the schedule. Another thing I want to point out is that release time is really, really, really intended. And for faculty in, number one, for junior faculty or non-tenured faculty. And I will tell you how I maximized course releases. Now, the first 2 years, all 4 of you all are still have assigned release time for new faculty in the first 2 years. You have 2 courses a semester, per year. So that means you teach 3 courses instead of 4 courses per semester. Once you start your 3rd year, you go to a 4-4 load. Here's the issue. And we've been having this discussion and working on about equity and workload and everything that ethnic studies does as a field. And The issue is that in the third year, it's impossible to earn tenure. The earliest you can earn tenure is if you have a year of assigned service right when you first come in, and you shave off a year from your tenure timeline, which goes to from 6 to 5. And then if you go up for early tenure, the earliest you could apply under those two conditions is in the fourth year. And it's really important that non-tenure faculty have the opportunity not only to really fine-tune your teaching, but also your service, your scholarship, your research, and really research, scholarly, and creative activities. And if you are burdened with carrying a full load in your third year, I'm telling you, it's not. I did it during COVID, and I wanted to test out having a full load when we were not face to face, and there's no way. I mean, I don't even think it's possible. It's so challenging. So that's a conversation that we continue to have with the dean and the provost, and so this is why these assigned time, these course releases are so critical for you as faculty in your third, your fourth, your fifth, and your sixth year, up until you get tenure. So starting in that third year anyway, anywhere up to really the fifth year or the sixth year. Well, the fourth year, at the end of the fourth year. And so in order to make sure, and this gets really challenging because the other consideration and priority is to make sure that we have the course coverage that we need, especially given AB 1460, make sure that we have lecturers. And my priority is to make sure that you all have access to course releases, at least 1 to 2 a year, beginning in your third year. Now, we had discussed having built-in course releases with ethnic studies for rendering service that benefits the department as a whole, such as planning more than one major ethnic studies event, not like guest speakers, but major ethnic studies event a year, serving on the Senate, and the ethnic studies professional certificate. Chia and Juvenal, both, they switched out with what they wanted to choose, and I've got to follow up on that, like with the provost, like what's going on with the financial compensation. Juvenal, I'm sorry, Goshu and KD, when you get to the point where you are ready to start brainstorming and planning around the master's credentialing program, you'll both be receiving course releases for that. So and this is like huge. You just do that, you are literally surpassed the elaborations for early tenure. I'm just telling you, the bar is nobody's going to have issues earning tenure here, and probably not have any issues earning early tenure here at the end of your fourth year. And also, this is part of this is the sausage making that goes into how do we balance out all of these factors and these priorities, that obviously the course coverage is important, and it's equally important that faculty who are in your third and fourth and fifth and or sixth years are prioritized with course releases, especially because for me, for example, this is my fifth year. I've had I applied for the course releases when I wanted the course releases. I've gotten those. The reason I have them now is because I'm chairing, that's all, and Senate. So, but that's not, if I were not chairing, I would most likely just go back to a 3-3 or try to do a 3-3 load, or maybe a 3-4 load. After you earn tenure, a lot of faculty just go ahead, they teach 4-4 loads for years. Once they've earned tenure, and then they get to associate professor and full professor, they're not trying to do a whole lot of service and this, that, and the other. So they teach their 4 classes each, each semester. So that's just to explain a little bit when it gets to this. But Viv, what I don't see here is I don't see the process. I don't see a processual protocol for how we actually create the class schedule together. So I think this is something to think about. And I think, oh, you're welcome. Sorry, you're welcome. Good. Oh yeah, this is what I love to do. I've worked in so many different sectors and so many different positions that is how I excel and thrive. I get into these institutions and I've learned that organizational structure, and I've learned those processes and protocols and policies so I can learn how to navigate it and learn how to make it work, right, in equitable ways. So Viv, I think this is something for us to revisit and discuss a little bit further.
Definitely.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, the chair has to be the one.
Because I know how Samuel did it before is that he would go a year back, look at the schedule, and it's easier for us to use a year back because
Yep.
that's the classroom that is confirmed already. And a lot of times that's what departments uses a year before, and that's how we get our classroom. So that's why our schedule is so similar from fall to spring. And we want to make sure that it's kind of like replication really, because then if you go out of sync, it's so hard to get a classroom. That's the most important thing. Is just receiving a classroom.
It's so hard. That's really tough and it's the other reason Samuel would go back a year is because he really, really factored in not loading us down with too many new preps. And after that first year, you'll get to the point where you may have, oh, oops, maybe I don't have access to this. Maybe I need to make a copy. So I'm going to stop share. Maybe you get to the point, or you can get to the point where you don't have any new preps. I mean, and Samuel actually planned it all out very intentionally. And he would say, look, if there's a new course, like and I will tell you that November 25th is the deadline for submitting non-general education courses into Curriculog. So I'm going to enter that in the chat. Yeah, deadline for entering new or altered non-GE courses into Curriculog equals November. Why is the deadline November 25th? Okay. Anyway, but he would literally say, like, here's a really exciting new course because I really wanted to teach women of color feminisms. I never taught it because I was teaching 2 sections of 4200. I was teaching 2 sections of racial and ethnic experiences. He's like, well, this means you're going to have 3. And even it's not just new preps. It's like even courses that you've already taught, as you start teaching 3, especially 3 courses, it's like, we really want to try. Now, this has changed because of AB 1460, actually. But we really used to work it out so that we would have at least only 2 preps, right? Not even new preps, just even the same, but to tweak and refine and update and tailor to our students so that we're currently teaching. And so he would be like, okay, you've already got 2 preps, because I would have 2 sections of the same course and then he's like, you're going to have 3 preps. Think about everything else you're doing. Do you want to teach women? I was like, ugh. So I never taught it. I would love to teach Black African film. And that to me is a course that's really conducive to being taught well online. But it's the question. I mean, obviously the question then is like, well, do you want another prep? Do you want to, all of these factors are what we take into consideration, because this is what actually really creates the workload for us. So I know that was a lot. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question. Regarding the 4200 course, is it going to be changed again? Because this year, basically, I guess Katie and I just started from scratch, and for me, I've done a lot of, it took a lot of prep time, basically. When Tuesday, I am spending my time only doing that. So is it going to be revamped again, or because for me the Black film, as much as I would like to teach that, but I was just wondering, is it going to change it again, or is it going to continue like the 4200 ethnic and
I-
racial experiences?
And that's based on all of the updated materials and readings that Samuel sent earlier. I will say that I have entered the modified course into curriculum. So it should not change. Here is the challenge. And this is going to part of the reason why I want to meet with the dean and the provost, because something's got to give. What we have been, one way of addressing the capacity issue for us, for everything that we do as ethnic studies faculty, so that we're not always trying to scramble to figure out how not have to teach 4 classes each semester, is to change all of the experiences courses, including the racial and ethnic experiences courses, to 4-unit courses.
To me, that course sounds like a 4-unit course.
It is a 4-unit course. It always should have been a 4-unit course. It always should have been. And so it's also, so there's 2 things that are happening right now in curriculum. So when I enter the modification to that course, which is what you in KD are teaching, 2 things: entered it as to change it from a 3-unit to a 4-unit, and entered it to actually have it be in upper division D or area F. Now I'm already getting pushback. I've attended university education policy committee. I'm already getting pushback and have been told inaccurate information in the process, because they don't want. We've gotten pushback. No, you can't do 4-unit courses. No, G courses. It's very hard to make a requirement in G. Well, there's actually several GE courses across all areas that are 4-unit courses. Because I talked to a lot of different people. And the other issue is there's pushback with faculty. They do not want ethnic studies courses to be able to double count in general education area D or area F. They're saying that it's limiting. They've crafted this whole argument where it's limiting the options of students, where it's increasing the options of students. The real issue is, because it's or, the issue is that with the population that we serve, they are concerned that because of our content, because of how dynamic it is, because of how relevant it is, because of how powerful it is, because of ethnic studies pedagogies, or because our classes are engaging, because our students connect with us, they're concerned that the students are going to choose more and more and more ethnic studies, and they're going to be able to choose an array of ethnic studies courses in both, because we want to have them in both. And they're worried the students don't want to go and take their courses. And quite frankly, what I've seen and heard is these are people who have not, they're very poor educators. They haven't updated their course materials. They're very dry. They are teaching the same content from 30, 40 years ago, or 20, 25 years ago. They don't connect with the students. And they basically, to me, really in practice, they want a captive audience. They want their classes to be required. They don't want other classes that may compete with their classes to be required, because they want to sit back and be lazy and just have the students come to them.
Mary, I would just add color to this story.
Please.
When I taught in Kansas City, the dean who hired me was fired over this issue because she had brought in several faculty who were people of color and who were coming at things from a much more today kind of perspective, and who were also more dynamic and frankly, the students liked and got more out of the students. older faculty. This was a Jesuit college in Kansas City, a private school, mostly lawyers and doctors and bankers' kids. And it had been a certain way for decades, and they expected it to stay that way. And in kind of the 2 or 3 years of warfare, and I literally mean that on campus, warfare between different colleges and departments, in the end, the dean was the one who ended up losing her job over it. And frankly, there was all this animosity toward her merely because she was trying to set things up in a way that would not allow some of the older faculty members to hide the fact anymore that they didn't do much, that they kind of occasionally showed up and then that was it. And so I've seen this before. I know it can be fraught.
Well, Katie, what happened to the faculty who that dean brought in?
Oh, that's another sad story. I think 2 of the 6 of us got tenure and the other 4 did not. One person was granted tenure, but the only Black woman they hired in the time I was there, she was given tenure, but not promoted, which I've never heard of. So she stayed an assistant professor, but was given tenure. And that allowed them to basically keep her in a secondary role in her department. She was in the psychology department. Another member who came in at the same time I did, a Black man who was a psychology professor, they drove him out. Before he even came up for tenure, he left and went into private industry in consulting, I think. And I know I didn't even have to ask him when he was leaving. I knew exactly what had happened, you know, in his world, because you could see it. And I mean, at least hopefully it's not, you know, we won't see it be quite that bad here, but I know people, they're worried about turf, you know, and there's a real concern when you're going to steal our classes, then what if we can't justify our size and existence and funding anymore? And that, what shocked me is that I was hired into that situation under the guise of, we're all in this very learning, generous, inviting learning environment where it's a spiritual place where even if you're from another faith, that's fine. We're all in this together. And so I was shocked to see the piranhas when this happened, just how people turned on each other and strange kinds of rumors and animosities and all kinds of just insanity kind of flowed out from that. So yeah, it didn't go well for the faculty she brought in either. And frankly, then I left. I guess there's one person left of the 6 that she hired. Because we were all, you know, to one extent or another, I wasn't driven out so much as it was obvious that I was not liked and that I was a remnant of her regime. And they were trying to shift it in a much different kind of political context, you know, much more conservative and back toward the way things had been before she'd been brought on in the first place. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that was the beginning of me looking for an exit ramp.
I mean, ultimately, I'm really glad you're here. I think you belong here. There are a number of reasons why it's very different here. It is still California. AB 1460, that's a part of it. Attempts have been made to dismantle ethnic studies in the state like every decade and starve it out, and it has never worked because the students always come out and organize. Our system is the birthplace, right, of ethnic studies. The other factor is that we have a very powerful union that looks very different from the way that the union looks on our campus. Like everyone is like white or white adjacent men, right? But I've gone to those assemblies, and this is, if you ever get an opportunity to go to a CFA assembly, just go to one to see the energy and feel the energy. And they have an African-American caucus that's super vocal and really pushes the envelope. And they have a Native American caucus. They have a Latinx caucus. The energy is like totally different from the energy that you will get from the union on our campus, and it's really strong. And the other factor is, I know this will not happen. That what happened there is not going to happen here. It's not. This is actually Kukunuchi's land. And we're in a different era. We're in an era of healing where I don't know how many of you have started to hear about the atmospheric rivers. Literally, it's like, this started happening, what was this, over the summer? Rainstorms that were so powerful. And that's when I first started hearing this word atmospheric river. I'm like, what is an atmospheric river? Well, ultimately, scientists' models are already predicting that the Central Valley eventually will become the new coast. It'll become the new coastline in California. And because of the healing, and I think of rematriation of the land as physical and also spiritual healing, restoring, reclaiming. And right now, Stan State is in Turlock, it's in the Cut, it's in this little Blackwater. Ultimately, it's going to be a crown jewel in the state, and a key hub in the state once that gets reconfigured. Now, I don't know when that's going to happen. We know we work from the perspective of 7 generations in the future, and I mean 7 generations from the past for me. The other fact, and I know this is right. We are on our way. We are on our way. It's not going to be without challenges. It's not without battles. I'm built for it. I am built for this. And it would not be the first time or the second time or the third time. And the other thing that I think is very important is that this is the largest, this is the key, is this is not only is this not a private university, this is the largest public four-year university system in the entire country. A faculty member told me that our campus is like, literally, we're subsidized something by like 80% taxpayer money. There's a lot of accountability, and there's a lot of exposing and holding accountable that you can do, and that, to me, we have to do. This is the people's, this is a community system. This is their money. And so that all, right, that all of these different factors are all at play. But yeah, people have been here in the Cut, sitting back, real comfortable, and yet they still need ethnic studies. That's why the dean brought Samuel in. I don't know who he thought he was. He brought someone who was capable of literally resurrecting a program from the ashes. And the problem of that very myopic colonialist mindset is they don't understand what it takes to do that. They don't understand the strength and the vision and the power and the persistence that it takes, and I tell you, y'all, each one of us could think 10 of these faculty are critical, because it's just our critical. I'm always, I don't know why I'm surprised anymore at the lack of ability for these people to critically think, or to think in just more holistic ways, or to think in more innovative ways. And so, of course, you brought someone in they brought the right one in. He's not just here to make you look good and to cover your butt. He's really here about the work. We're really here about the work. So thank you for sharing that. So Viv and I'll go back to the drawing board and think, I love, and what does it look like? Because I absolutely have always appreciated always being able to build the class schedule together before we, program meetings and now department meetings, and just looking at how I can factor all of that in. And I mean, already I'm seeing, I'm going to send Jim an update, because it's not just, right, it's not just us as a department, it's not just the chair. The dean has to also weigh in on all of this, and I think it'll be fine. And now I'm realizing, oh, I'm gonna send him a clarifying email and ask some clarifying questions. I'm like, did you know we have this many sections of 4,200 offered? And, just to make sure. So any other questions or? Well, I hope that you all enjoy your weekends and get some rest. And I will tell you, the fall semester, it seems like it takes forever to get to Veterans Day. We do get Veterans Day off, but once we get to Veterans Day and then Thanksgiving, it's basically the semester's over. So that's why I'm like, and I don't know, I for this time of year, I like to do a unit in my classes on the myth of Thanksgiving. I have some other thing like a Mythbuster activity around Pocahontas too. So if anyone's interested in any of that, I'm happy to share those resources. But I like to reframe Thanksgiving and not, some people are like, I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. I'm like, well, I do. I go see my family and my loved ones, but the spirit that I'm doing it in is to actually honor the ancestors and to commemorate them, and to recognize, it is grateful. It is a time of gratitude tinged with mourning for what that was really all about. So I have some of those because I keep it real. I'm like, no, this is one of the few times I get to go see my loved ones, and so if you're interested in those resources, you can email me, and I have like a bunch of hard copies in the office but yeah, I was on a panel actually when I was at Northern Arizona University. It was really interesting because I was the only woman on the Myth of Thanksgiving panel, which was really interesting to me because I was like, whoa, they have like US Bay. Obviously we're in Dene country and Hopi, and there's literally no women. So they come and get me. I was like, what's going on? But I was like, okay, all right, I'll do it. So I do have some resources from when I researched to serve on that panel. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.